Well, we're back for the second half of this independent off-tube studio commentary between Manchester City and Everton. The scoreline is 1-0 to the hosts after Raheem Sterling finally put City ahead in the 43rd minute. Everton coming forward very early on, just as they did in the first half. That didn't amount to much in the opening 45, but Manchester City have been able to clear it this time. No changes made to either side at half-time. Everton were forced into one alteration in the first half. It's the man now on the ball, Alex Iwobi, who came on for Damari Gray, but his cross is headed away there by John Stones. So City have Ederson in goal. I'll just go through the team shortly in a moment, as Seamus Coleman was brought down there by João Cancelo. It's a bit of a late, rash challenge from the man that set up the Manchester City goal. I think Stuart Atwell is not going to go to his pocket. It was one that
possibly he could.
I was going to say, it looked to be one that Cancelo dived in and then he tried to pull his leg away, I think, but in doing that maybe caught Coleman, so it perhaps looked a little bit worse than what it was. But it's a free kick for Everton early on.
It is. It's a great chance this for Everton. It's almost like a corner kick, but sort of 5-6 yards further infield with a little bit more of an angle here for Townsend to try and whip this in.
Yeah, Andros Townsend didn't have much to do in the first half because City was so dominant in possession. Everton's forward players were barely able to get a foothold of the game, but it's going to be Townsend to whip the ball in, and it was a good-looking delivery as well. It comes out to Delph on the edge of the box. Delph then lifts it back in after he tried to shoot, initially left-footed. It was a bit of an air shot from the former Manchester City midfielder, and he was unable to do anything with it. So City have Ederson in goal, the back four of Walker, Stones, Laporte and Cancelo. Palmer, Rodri and Gundogan in midfield with Sterling, Silva and Foden up top. Everton have got Pickford in goal. Coleman, Godfrey, Keane and Dean make the back four with Gordon, Delph, Allen and Iwobi in midfield. Townsend just playing off the lone frontman Richarlison. We've played about 2 minutes of this second half and the scoreline is still Manchester City 1, Everton 0. Don't forget, Tottenham versus Leeds is coming up at 4:30. Antonio Conte with his first game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Laporte plays it forward. Coleman lets it run. He tried to get away there from Foden, and he did so successfully. Clears it up towards Iwobi, midway inside his own half on this near side. Everton going from left to right in this second half, and Manchester City going from right to left in that all sky blue kit. Here is Laporte on this near side to Rodri, just hanging about on the edge of the centre circle. Now with Cancelo. Cancelo rolls it back now towards Laporte. Rodri with a good forward ball now to Cancelo, who gets it in onto his right foot. Back now for Rodri with Bernardo Silva. Silva across for Kyle Walker. Palmer's trying to make a run ahead of him, as is Raheem Sterling. City doing what they do so well, just holding on to the ball, forcing their opponents into getting slightly out of shape and just expending that little bit more energy than they possibly like. It's with Foden now, who's spent most of this game playing on the left-hand side. Rodri now with a crossfield pass. Walker is going to reach it, one of the quickest players in the league, and he does well to dig out a pass back towards Bernardo Silva, as Everton still being pulled from pillar to post here. Rodri with another crossfield ball, but to the opposite side now for Foden on this near flank. Foden rolls it back to João Cancelo. Is he going to try and get another cross in? He's not. Cancelo then goes down. That didn't seem to be much contact. That was just as he played the ball back, so I wasn't on him.
No, and the strange one is that you can often gauge how bad a challenge is from the reaction of the players, and not a single City player is charging to the referee saying, what about that? No one's having a go at he won't be saying, what are you doing there? So it's, I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of a stud there to the back of the heel, and the way these boots are these days, they're very, very flimsy, so potentially it could have hurt Cancelo, but I don't think there was too much in that.
No, I don't think there was, as Cancelo was down on the ground. He looks as though he's going to be okay. If worst comes to worst, they do have a natural option on the bench in the form of Alexander Zinchenko, as Manchester City's great run against Everton looks like it's going to continue. They've won 7 Premier League matches in a row against the Toffees, so Everton have got some real work to do to try and break that particular record, as Stuart Atwell has the ball in his hands now, and Manchester City will get the game back going. Cancelo looks like he's running a little bit heavily. I think it's just one of those impact injuries that the pain will subside the more that he's able to try and run it off, as Sterling is nearly played into the box there by Bernardo Silva, and then Allen with a really poor, almost Sunday League-esque air shot, which sends the ball behind for a corner kick.
Yeah, it's always amusing when a Premier League footballer does that. He's trying to kick the ball with one foot, but inadvertently moves it away with the other one. And on this occasion, it was quite embarrassing from Alan's point of view, and it's out for a corner.
Yep, it's not often you see it at top level, so always amusing when you do, as Foden prepares to send this ball in. This would be a cheap goal to give away if Everton concede. Foden's corner is sent in. It's flicked behind. I think it was by Delph, and it looks as though it's going to be another corner kick, but this time on the opposite side.
Well, it's a better ball from Foden this time. It was aiming for Aymeric Laporte, who was just behind Delph, who gets that header out. This time we're going to see an in-swinger, you'd imagine, from Gundogan from the left-hand side.
Yep, Ilkay Gundogan tasked with the corner kick this time, hoping that City can try and get a second goal, and they would be a lot more comfortable then. It is a better delivery as well, but Pickford comes out and he gets a good punch on it. Palmer will now lift it back into the area. Iwobi, has he brought down Ilkay Gundogan? The referee says no. There was a bit of contact between the two of them, but I don't think that's a penalty, just solely by the fact that Gundogan probably isn't going to get there.
Well, the question is Iwobi standing his ground and then Gundogan crashes into him and falls over? I wouldn't find much of an argument to say that Iwobi's pushed him over there, so I think it was the right decision. Yeah,
I think Everton ought to be careful in the second half. There was one near miss in the first half, just before the goal. Raheem Sterling thought he'd won a penalty as Bernardo Silva skips away from a challenge of Allen, tries to play in Palmer, but he's unable to find him. It's now with Anthony Gordon over on the far side. Gordon does well initially, and Everton do have the ball back with Delph, who's nearly dallied with it right on the edge of the area. Delph now back towards Michael Keane, and here is Luca Digne. Forward now to Gordon. Gordon tries to just flick it inside to pick out Allen, but only picks out a Manchester City man. Here is Cancelo, almost playing as a midfielder at the minute. For Gundogan now. Gundogan squares it now to João Cancelo. Foden wants it played to him, and he gets it. Foden straight back now to Cancelo. For Rodri. Here is Stones. Stones has got a bit of space to move into. Plays the forward ball now for Bernardo Silva. Really good work from him. He goes down in the box. Another penalty appeal waved away. That one to me didn't look like a penalty at all.
No, it didn't look like a penalty, and Stuart were very quick to sort of demonstratively wave that away and say there's definitely no foul. Potentially a chance here for Everton as they have a bit of possession in midfield now with Townsend and Coleman.
Yeah, it's with Coleman now to Iwobi on this near side. Iwobi squares it now for Fabian Delph. Delph just in the centre circle. He's not played much football recently. Well, the ball has been booted out now for a throw-in because Bernardo Silva looks as though he needs some treatment. Maybe he was caught ever so slightly as he controlled the ball in the box. Well, Michael Keane does make contact with his foot.
Whether or not it's to say that that's a penalty, I mean, he's tried to get the ball. He has caught Bernardo Silva. I mean, the irony is that you see penalties given for a lot less contact than that in a different scenario where the player's running past. So you can sometimes give a penalty for much less contact than that. And so I suppose from Bernardo's point of view, he is right to ask about it. Yeah,
he's complaining to Stuart Atwell, and he'll be feeling that VAR should be used to their benefit for that decision. Fabian Delph just having a word in his ear, former teammate, of course. Let's have another look. It's played into Bernardo on the half turn.
I think the point is that it's the way Bernardo falls that probably swings it. If he'd have fallen as soon as he was caught there, then perhaps that would have swung it in the VAR official's mind that there could have been a foul. But it's the fact that he's caught, he then makes two strides and then falls. I think that they've decided that there wasn't enough contact.
Yep, and VAR clearly are happy with that. Otherwise, they would have had a look at it, and we maybe would have seen that purple screen on our studio pictures as Cancelo picks the ball up now, plays it inside to Rodri. City do have some space to work in. It's forward now to Bernardo Silva, and City again with space. This time it's with Foden on the near side. Foden whips the ball in low, and that nearly reached Cole Palmer. Long shot comes in. What a strike that is from Rodri out of absolutely nothing. Everton thought they cleared it, but Rodri with a 30-yard pile driver into the top corner. Jordan Pickford, all he can do is exhale his cheeks. There was nothing he could do about that. And Manchester City lead 2-0.
Well, to coin a phrase, you don't save them. That is absolutely superb from Rodrigo. The way the ball drops to him at the edge of the area after Alan tries to clear it, Rodrigo puts his laces through that. It starts off as it's going straight down the middle, but the swerve on it takes it away from Jordan Pickford and right into the top corner. It is an absolutely fabulous goal. Both City goals today have been really top drawer, and this one from Rodrigo is going to take some beating.
Yeah, very different goals, but that is an absolute stunner from Rodrigo. He doesn't score too many for Manchester City, so a rare treat for him, and no wonder that all the players were running across to congratulate him, because that was an absolutely cracking strike.
It's not his first responsibility, is it really, considering that he is a defensive midfielder, but that is his second goal in his last 4 Premier League starts here at the Etihad. So he is getting a few goals, and of course the work he contributes to outside of scoring is massive as well. As City prepared to make their first change, Riyad Mahrez is going to be coming on.
Yeah, I wonder if that might be for Bernardo Silva, if he is struggling with that injury, and now that City have got that 2-goal cushion.
Well, Foden had that injury towards the end of the first half as well, but it may be that they've heard from Bernardo Silva after that contact there with Michael Keane that potentially he might not be able to play on. But we're just seeing, they can show us this replay another 10 times if they like, the strike from Rodrigo. If you want to talk about a strike where you put your laces through it, that's exactly what he does. Absolutely,
an absolute worldy strike, and I think Pickford, he wasn't too far away from it in fairness, but the sheer pace of the ball meant that...
Well, if it hadn't swerved, he probably would have saved it, because it seemed to be going straight down the middle. But just that swerve, once he's hit it with the laces, means that it gets away from Pickford, and Everton really are up against it now.
Yeah, we'll just wait and see who Riyad Mahrez is about to come on for. I mean, Pep Guardiola's side are going to look fairly comfortable now. It is going to be Foden, and it's sensible management, really, from Guardiola. The fact that he knew Foden was coming into this game on the back of a leg injury that he suffered on international duty. So Guardiola's probably confident enough now, with City being 2-0 up, that the game is 95% wrapped up, and Mahrez can come on and make an impact.
Absolutely, just a small matter of PSG at home in the week in the Champions League, so any player they can preserve a little bit for that game is definitely worth doing.
Yeah, you wouldn't be surprised if maybe one or two of the other important players get subbed, looking at the likes of Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. They're 2 players that are possibly going to start in that one, although you can barely predict the Manchester City lineup. Such is the strength of their squad. Pep Guardiola could make 5 changes to his side, and it'd still be a very strong lineup indeed, and that's probably why the likes of Sterling and Cole Palmer have been afforded opportunities today, because they might be finding themselves on the bench against PSG. Here is Mahrez, first touch of the ball for him. Goes inside now to Rodri, and I'm sure there'll be cries of shoot whenever he gets hold of the ball in a central position around 30 yards out. Here is Bernardo Silva again, and Riyad Mahrez has come on, and he is a different player to Phil Foden, but he'll be another player that Luca Digne won't enjoy playing against.
No, absolutely not. And Mahrez is one of these players that probably imagined he was going to have more first-team football than what he has had at the Etihad. Of course, competition for places is always very, very high. But it means that when he comes on in a game like this, where City are very comfortable, this is the sort of game where Mahrez really can do some damage.
Here is Rodri. Rodri looks forward. He chips the ball across now for Sterling, who has moved over to the left, unsurprisingly, with Mahrez taking up the place on the right. It's somehow been kept in play there by Cancelo, but City just gave themselves a bit too much to do, and Everton chip it forward towards Andros Townsend. Rafa Benitez looks as though he almost looks like a beaten man already, and we've not even reached the hour stage.
Yeah, he does have that kind of mannerism, doesn't he, Rafa Benitez, where he does look a little bit sort of forlorn. But it has been a difficult afternoon for his side. It's been a difficult period for Rafa Benitez. So, as I say, no win for Everton since the win against Norwich at the end of September. And looking at their next couple of games, we mentioned they're away to Brentford, then they're at home to Liverpool, at home to Arsenal, and away to Palace. So it's a tough start of December, as here comes City now with a chance for Mahrez down the right-hand side. But in the end, the ball goes wide. It was just a quick move that started in midfield with a pass from Palmer.
Yeah, terrific one-touch football there. Cancelo across to Mahrez, and he really makes a mess of that. I think it's good defending in the end from Digne, that he comes across in the nick of time. He makes Mahrez's mind up for him, but when he initially struck it, it looked as though it was the sort of effort that took a deflection, but he just dragged it well wide of the near post. A player perhaps who could do with a goal just to raise his own personal confidence slightly, as Sterling breaks forward now. It comes to Palmer on the left-hand side of the box. Gundogan tries to feed it infield for Cancelo. It does find him via a deflection, and City are happy to go backwards to come back forwards again. It's with Stones. Stones plays it short now to Kyle Walker. Back from Riyad Mahrez, and now with Walker on the halfway line for Emerick Laporte now. Laporte just brings it over the halfway line. Cancelo sweeps it forward, looking for Raheem Sterling. Sterling there, looking to link up with Gundogan. Gundogan reverses it back inside for Rodri. Now with Palmer, back to Rodri. Rodri across now for Kyle Walker. Is he going to line up a strike? He might do. He comes forward, lifts it towards Cole Palmer, but he couldn't quite get the contact on the ball. That was brilliant play from Kyle Walker. I did think he was going to strike the ball first time, but just that drop of the shoulder to get away from Anthony Gordon, and then a really deft through ball to Palmer, and he just swings a leg at it, really.
Yeah, he doesn't make any contact with it at all, Palmer. We know that he can pass with his left and his right. Potentially would have liked to have had that on his left foot, but another good chance there for City, and then we can see players like Walker getting involved now. They're just starting to feel a bit more comfortable in attack.
Absolutely. They've not got the threat of conceding one goal and then suddenly they lose their winning advantage. They have got a nice buffer on Everton. 2-0 up are Manchester City. Here is Riyad Mahrez, who's got Bernardo Silva out wide. Palmer still playing in that false nine role. Here is John Stones. John Stones forward to Bernardo Silva. Now for Mahrez. Digne's coming across to try and get to him, but this is exactly the same pattern as what we saw in the first half. Complete and utter domination from City in terms of possession. That's a nice touch from Sterling, and another one from Gundogan. Sterling shot. It comes now to Rodri. It comes again to Mahrez. Sliding challenge in from Digne. I think that was a good tackle from him.
Yeah, referee Stuart Atwell straight away pointing for the goal kick. Mahrez just needing a moment to pick himself up there. And not too happy with Digne's attempts to try and help him up as well. With this, we'll see from this replay. No, Digne wins the ball and then Mahrez runs into Digne, I would say.
Yeah, I was surprised that Mahrez didn't go for the shot first time. I think he was just trying to get away from Digne rather than maybe try and lift it over the sliding Frenchman. He does like to get those sorts of opportunities where he's coming in from the right and sweeps it into the far corner. Meanwhile, Everton are going to make a change, and this is going to be an attacking substitution. Fabian Delph not had much football, as we've mentioned, throughout this game, so it's perhaps sensible to take him off on the 63rd minute, and he's going to be replaced by Salomon Rondon. So Everton will have a bit more presence up front now.
They will. Whether or not they can actually get the ball up to Rondon is another matter, because Richarlison's been up there all afternoon. He's hardly had any service at all. But it does give them something to play off. So a long ball can be headed down by one and played onto the other. And that's what Rafa Benitez will be hoping gives them a little bit more purchase in attack.
Yeah, it's a very attack-minded team that Everton have got now with that substitution. Allen's going to have a lot of work to do in midfield because they've got essentially 3, maybe even 4 wingers, if you class Richarlison as one, that are going to be supporting Rondon now. Ball played forward by Gundogan. It just bounces off the heel of Palmer. Here is Cancelo, and Gundogan gets it back. More space to run into, and suddenly Everton find themselves very open. It's played back across towards Rodri, but Gordon does very well. Gordon tries to slide it forward himself. It doesn't reach Iwobi. And once again, we are looking at Everton, whenever they do get hold of the ball. I mean, fair play to them for winning the ball back like that. But as soon as they do, they're just running out of ideas and running out of options almost.
There's almost no plan for the final third, is there? Because they've had so little possession in front of City's goal that when they do get anywhere into the City half, it's almost like they're looking around what to do next, and that's never a good thing to see in any Premier League team. Everton, particularly as you said, with this very attack-minded team that they have now, it's all well and good having the players on the pitch, but you do actually have to try and come in. I'm just looking at the way they're setting up. It's almost as if Townsend has gone into that central midfield role alongside Alan there as well. Yeah,
never seen him play in that role before, so he does bring experience to the side at least. He should have
I suppose from the other players, if it's a choice between having Townsend or Gordon playing in that central midfield role, you would prefer Townsend there just because of his experience.
Yeah, exactly so. And Anthony Gordon, who is a talented young player, but he is an out-and-out winger, really, so it'd be hard to put him into a central midfield role as City continue the domination of the possession of the game. Stones with another short ball now to Kyle Walker. We haven't seen any possession stats flash up on our screen or completed passes, but they would make for stark reading if you are of an Everton persuasion. 65 minutes on the clock. Manchester City 2, Everton 0. Raheem Sterling and Rodri with the goals. Sterling just runs into a bit of a cul-de-sac. It's played forward now by Coleman, and now suddenly Everton can get forward. It's with Townsend making the burst from midfield. Townsend gets it onto his left foot. Iwobi is overlapping. Iwobi crosses. It's not the best clearance from Stones. It comes back to Townsend, edge of the area. Townsend will stand across into the box. It's not going to reach Gordon. Not going to quite reach Gordon. Stones comes out, and then Gordon dangles a leg out, and it's going to be a free kick to Manchester City. And they just look a little bit crestfallen to the Everton players.
They do. I mean, a bit more space for Townsend to work in his more natural winger's position here on the right-hand side. Cuts in on his left. Options are plenty. Iwobi's ball, it was the right idea, just a little bit perhaps under hip to try and pick out Rondon. And then a bit of a shame that Gordon gave the free kick away. But that's what Everton have to try and do. Just little moments of possession to try and put some pressure on this City defence.
Here is Laporte. Chips the ball forward. It doesn't reach Palmer. It's easily headed away by Keane, but only as far as Bernardo Silva. And that's just been the theme of the game from Everton's point of view. They've battled, but they've just been completely second best in terms of the quality. Coleman heads the ball down now, and then gets it back from Andros Townsend. Townsend with a nice drop of the shoulder to get away from Bernardo Silva. And now here is Alex Iwobi. Townsend. Richarlison tries to play it round the corner. Back for Townsend. Just look at Everton's next 6 fixtures. Brentford, and then home games against Liverpool and Arsenal. Away to Crystal Palace and Chelsea, and home to Leicester. So that's a pretty tough run they've got before Christmas.
It is. It's going to put pressure on Rafa Benitez. That game away at Brentford next week becomes all the more important that they get points from that, because the next 2 home games after that are very, very, very tough.
Here is Walker now. Chance for him to stretch his legs. Turns away from Gordon. Plays it back to Bernardo Silva. Palmer now. Palmer back to Silva. Here is Walker. Walker outside of the foot. Palmer rolls it back to Rodri. Goes for another crossfield ball. It's a little bit wayward. Doesn't reach Sterling. Now with Cancelo. Just 1 or 2 passes going slightly astray from Manchester City at the moment. As City slow the game now to a walking pace. Stones jogs forward. Through now to Sterling. Iwobi's chasing, but Sterling gets hold of the ball once again. Now with Walker. Chance now for Bernardo Silva. I suppose this is just a case of what Manchester City can do, what show they can put on for those supporters from now until the end of the game. They're 2-0 up, they're cruising, and they should feel as though they've got the chance to create many opportunities to extend the advantage. Here is Aymeric Laporte. Now for Ilkay Gundogan. Gundogan across for Bernardo Silva. They're almost, you can get the sense they're not wanting to expend too much energy at the moment ahead of that massively important game they've got against PSG in the week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of in-game management here from Manchester City now. Just a couple of minutes where Everton was starting to get into more of an attack mind, so City now just trying to take the sting out of that and keep hold of the ball as Palmer goes down just in front of the penalty area, and Ben Godfrey claims that he won the ball. Referee disagrees.
Yep, Pep Guardiola just rubbing his head, but he looks very contented on the touchline. Well, that free kick has given us a gap in play. We are well over the 3-quarter-way mark of the game. 69 on the clock. Manchester City 2, Everton 0. It'll be Paul to take us through to full time.
Thanks very much, Dan. Yeah, and this free kick is very much within shooting range. Stuart Atwell has just drawn the line for the wall inside the D, pretty much in the middle of the D there. So it's certainly within shooting range, and left-footed Mahrez and right-footed Walker are standing over this one. It's pretty central, just slightly edging maybe over to the right-hand side of the goal, so potentially it may suit Mahrez just that little bit more, although a power driver from Kyle Walker certainly isn't out of the question either. But because it is quite central, you wouldn't imagine they're going to be looking to try and cross this, really. It's going to be a little bit too obvious to goalkeeper and defenders. But it's Mahrez who certainly seems to be measuring more of the steps as he shapes up to this free kick. And it is a strike from Mahrez. He gets it on target, but he never really got the pace into trouble. Pickford, who makes a standing save.
Yeah, it's not a bad effort, that, from Riyad Mahrez. He's come on. He's just maybe looked a little bit cold so far. Not being able to get in the game as he quite would have liked. It's a good kick out, though, from Pickford to release Gordon.
It is. Gordon down the left-hand side finds Rondon, but City back in numbers straight away as Alan now feeds Anthony Gordon heading towards the penalty. Rodrigo puts a challenge in, but that then deflects into the path of Townsend, and he finds Iwobi on the right-hand side. His ball, Richarlison trying a very acrobatic effort, just pretty much grazed the top of the ball. They couldn't quite get it towards goal, and then it's a challenge there from Bernardo Silva to put it out for a throw. But these changes that Rafa Benitez has made are paying off, because when Everton go forward, they are looking a lot more dangerous now.
Yeah, they certainly are. I think Rondon's had a big impact on the fact that Everton now don't have much of a midfield. They feel as though they have to get the ball forward as quickly as possible. They can't afford to have the ball knocking about in midfield, because there's just not the options there. As Townsend picked the ball up, I thought he was going to have a strike at goal, the way that he was shaping to get it onto his left, but he fed it to Iwobi instead, and Richarlison just couldn't quite manoeuvre that towards goal.
No, it was thrown to City now down the right-hand side as they look to try and play out from the back. Aymeric Laporte in possession just at the edge of his own penalty area. Square now to João Cancelo, being closed down by Iwobi. And then Cancelo playing the ball back towards the edge of the area. Here comes John Stones now. He's got a couple of options. He's got Walker out on the right-hand side. Walker now inside towards Bernardo Silva. Back to John Stones. And there is definitely a slowdown here from City. You can certainly notice that. They're not trying to completely kill the game, but they're not charging forward like they could do, say, if it was still 1-0 or 0-0. And perhaps just trying to slow things down with that big game against PSG coming up in midweek as well. As Stones and Walker exchanging a few more passes here around about the halfway line. Mahrez now down the right-hand side, tries to play it first time to Bernardo Silva, but Digne got in the way of that, and all of a sudden now Everton have a chance to go on the counter as the Everton left-back is brought down. Referee had a look but decides there's no foul, and City can break out now here with Riyad Mahrez. He finds Bernardo Silva. Silva just being clipped there by Alan, and the referee does give a free kick City's way for that one.
Yeah, Alan just sticks his arm up. I think he might have just caught Bernardo Silva ever so slightly there. You can't really take anything away from Everton in the way that they've battled in this game, but unfortunately for them, a real disparity in class has unfortunately cost them.
Oh, it has. And these aren't the games that are going to define what's been happening for Rafa Benitez. It's the 5-2 defeat at home to Watford, and it's that 2-1 reverse away at Wolves. Those are the sorts of games where the Everton fans will be asking questions. That Watford game in particular was really quite a surprise. But when you consider what Watford did yesterday, I suppose there is some effect of what Claudio Ranieri's doing. As Walker now down the right-hand side here for City, gets to the edge of the area, is brought down, but the loose ball is picked up here by Bernardo Silva. He leaves it for Cole Palmer, who puts a cross in towards the back post. It won't reach Gundogan, and it's volleyed away by Iwobi, taken down by Richarlison, who flicks it in towards Townsend. And Everton looking to try and play away from their own penalty area, but they're being boxed in here by City. Eventually, it's Coleman's long ball towards Richarlison. That's good play there from Townsend to keep the move alive. And suddenly there's a man over here on the left, and it's Anthony Gordon. He gets into the penalty area. He's got three options. Cuts it back onto his right foot. He doesn't really have a left foot, Anthony Gordon, but he does really well to get that ball away from Bernardo Silva. Then he does cross it in with his left eventually. I think that's a bit of a shame there from Anthony Gordon. Perhaps a little bit of a lack of experience. We'll come back to that in a second, because straight away City can go on the counter here now with Cole Palmer. He then finds Bernardo Silva. There's players streaming forward here in City shirts as Cole Palmer gets to the edge of the area. He tries a strike, which in the end is a good few yards over. But the way he's played this afternoon, I wouldn't begrudge him having a shot there.
No, I think he's done quite well. I think there's been one or two occasions where his touches maybe let him down, but it's so difficult for young players to come into this sort of environment under a Pep Guardiola side where everything has to be done at 100 miles an hour. They have to press, so the touch has to be absolutely spot on. And I think he has been shown faith by Guardiola, and you would expect him to play a role in some of their games for the rest of this season. Absolutely,
but that attack for Everton just before that City counter, I thought that Gordon tried so hard to get that ball onto his right foot. Then he got some space down the left-hand side and crossed it with his left. It was a bit of a shame, really. He had enough time to put it onto his better foot and try and get the ball into the box. But City coming back on the attack here now, down the right with Riyad Mahrez. He goes back to Rodrigo, got the second goal for City, an absolute pile driver from outside the box. Back towards Mahrez on the right. He's got Walker on the overlap, but he feeds that ball into the box for Bernardo Silva, who's got 3 Everton players around him. Couldn't quite turn towards goal, but the loose ball back in midfield, straight to a City player. Rodrigo finds Laporte. It's now with João Cancelo down the left-hand side. Inside to Rodrigo again. Options here for Cancelo. Over towards the right-hand side now for Walker. Walker inside towards Bernardo Silva. Now it's with Mahrez. Crosses it with his right foot, losing his balance as he does so, and it's out for a goal kick.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's only a matter of time before Manchester City get a third goal. Nathan Ake coming on now for Aymeric Laporte. Again, I think this might be with PSG in mind, although Laporte has been out injured for a little bit recently. He's also on a yellow card. So again, sensible management that from Guardiola, not wanting to use Ruben Diaz as well, giving Nathan Ake a 15-20 minute cameo appearance.
Absolutely, yeah. Give Ruben Diaz some time off so he can be fresh for that game against PSG. Quite surprised that we've not seen the third substitution for City, really. Less than 15 minutes to go now before we hit injury time in this game. I thought that perhaps maybe Sterling or Bernardo might have been given a bit of a rest towards the end of the game as well. But in the meantime, it's a long ball down the right-hand side here for Everton, and Iwobi touches it on to try and get away from Cancelo, but Cancelo is no slouch, and he does get there first. His clearance, though, goes straight to Andros Townsend. He's trying to keep that ball away from Raheem Sterling. He turns one way and the other. Sterling won't take no for an answer, but joining Townsend was Seamus Coleman, and Everton keep the ball alive. Townsend's ball into the box. That's a really heavy touch from Rondon, but he's still able to keep the ball in play. Leaves it now for Iwobi. Iwobi plays it in, taken down by Coleman. Coleman gets it towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Goalkeeper comes out. He still can't make the save. It's with Coleman, and eventually he has to back out from the penalty area with Bernardo Silva still on his tail. Goes back to Alan, who then whips the ball into the penalty area. But his fellow compatriot there in goal for City, Edison, makes a comfortable save. Yeah,
Coleman did really well there. How he kept his balance and his touch to keep hold of that ball. All just a little bit messy at the back for Manchester City there. Coleman just couldn't manufacture any sort of opportunity to just play the ball into the box. Even if he just fired it in blind, see where the ball ends up. But Manchester City have gotten away with one there, and maybe that's just one warning sign for them that they need to be a little bit careful from now until full time.
They absolutely do. I think that there's still, as I say, if Everton were to get a goal in the next few minutes, then all of a sudden it just puts a bit more pressure on City. But here they come now with a great chance down the right-hand side. Sterling to wrap it up. Oh, he's in two minds as to what to do. And at the edge of the 6-yard box, Pickford makes a much easier save than I think he was expecting to make there.
Yeah, I was convinced that Sterling was going to put that in the back of the net. But just as the ball came across, I'm not convinced it was played with enough pace for Sterling to get there. It allowed Pickford the opportunity to come out. And I think you're right, Sterling didn't know whether to go with his right foot or his left foot.
Yeah, just that little moment of indecision, and the fact that Pickford is known for being quick off his line means that City don't have a third goal, and really it looked odds on as though they would get that third goal. It's now back with John Stones and substitute Nathan Ake just on the halfway line here for Manchester City. Ake now rolling it back towards Stones. A bit of pressure there from Richarlison, so he goes square to Bernardo, who's dropped a little bit deeper this time. Still got around 11 minutes to play before we hit injury time here at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City leading against Everton by 2-0, just under an hour, I should say, until kick-off at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs taking on Leeds United in the later game today. Back with João Cancelo now on the halfway line, switching play over towards the right-hand side. Digne with a bit of a poor touch there, just leaves that one for Riyad Mahrez. And Mahrez now back to Kyle Walker, playing it towards John Stones. Just a little injection of pace from City in the last few minutes, maybe because Everton have started to play a bit more. City feel as though they've got to try and step it up as well.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a good invite for Manchester City. If Everton decide that they are wanting to play a little bit more, that might open things up slightly. Palmer couldn't quite get the glancing touch on towards Bernardo Silva, who was making his way through. But we've got another replay now. I suspect maybe if that goal had have counted, it would have been flagged for offside. It looked as though Walker may have just strayed, but as the ball came across to Sterling, I don't know if he was trying to maybe control it with his left in order to take it around Pickford, but the control just lets him down.
It does let him down, but you made that point as well, that the ball took probably a second or two longer to reach Sterling than he would have liked. That probably just slowed him down a bit. Here come Everton, though, with a ball in from Townsend, only cleared to the edge of the area. Gordon, twisting and turning, can't get a shot away, leaves it now for Alan. Digne now down the left, gets it back to Anthony Gordon. He lifts across into the penalty area. João Cancelo with the header away. Sterling then plays it square to Gundogan. And City, with a very calm head, are able to get that ball away from their own penalty area. Bernardo now finds Rodrigo. Inside towards but Gundogan. That's a very heavy touch. I think he's a bit frustrated there. They didn't get a man-on shout from one of his teammates. But Richarlison can bring the ball away for Everton now. And he finds Iwobi down the right-hand side. There's 3 players waiting at the edge of the area. But it's a quick exchange between Richarlison and Iwobi. Richarlison's ball back to Iwobi was a little bit short. And Gundogan can bring the ball away for City now. Good ball down the left-hand side here to find João Cancelo, although he's well marshalled there by Ben Godfrey, out for a throw to City down the left-hand side. Cancelo inside towards Palmer. But what's interesting is that City aren't exactly charging to get players forward here. It was a throw on probably about 10 yards away from the edge of the area, and there were 2 players anywhere near the penalty area. That was it, really.
Yeah, maybe City kind of feel as though the game's wrapped up and they just want a serene finish to it as they possibly can. We've got 9 minutes left of the 90 minutes. There's not been a huge number of stoppages in this second half, so I think City just want this game done and dusted with minimal fuss.
Absolutely, yeah. There's been a couple of hiccups already for City this season. Of course, that defeat at home to Palace just would have made them sit up and take notice. But of course, with Chelsea picking up points consistently, and of course Liverpool looking in excellent form yesterday, it's important that City get as many wins as they can. Of course, this season looking to be very tight at the top of the league. But City now in possession down the right-hand side. Still around 8 minutes to go before we hit injury time, and Everton doing what they can to press the midfield as John Stones now moves forward here for City. Just dances away there from Townsend, finds Gundogan, and then he finds Mahrez, right-hand edge of the penalty area. Mahrez looking to get a shot away, just been closed down there by Gordon. He plays it short now to Bernardo Silva. Silva back to Walker, who's put a bit too much on that cross. Still going to stay in play here though for Sterling. He gets away from Coleman, rolls it back now to João Cancelo. Cancelo inside to Gundogan. Now it's Sterling under a bit of pressure. They're going back towards Cancelo. Sterling in towards Rodrigo, over towards the right-hand side of the penalty area. Just a little bit too much of an angle on that one from Rodrigo, and it's out for a goal kick.
Yep, again, Manchester City with some pretty good build-up play, just not able to get that third goal, which really would rubber stamp this game, even though I just don't see Everton in any way getting back level 2 apiece to get anything from this. I think Pep Guardiola will be satisfied with the performance. It's not been perfect. They've maybe not been as clinical as he would have liked. He's such a perfectionist of a manager. I don't think he'd be happy if it was 5-0. He'd spot something that they'd want to improve on, but it does keep the City players well on their toes going forward, and it gives them a bit of confidence going into the PSG game. Absolutely.
Well, you mentioned the PSG. I was just about to ask you about that, but we'll come back to that in a second, because in the meantime, Ake has given the ball away at the edge of his own box. Rondon had half a chance to get it into the penalty area, but it is eventually cleared, and Gundogan can now start a counter-attack here for City. He goes to the right-hand side now for Mahrez. Mahrez to Walker, who is on the run, out to Palmer on the right-hand side. Really is sticking to that left foot. Doesn't really want to use his right foot too much. But the move just slows down now for City after Everton are backing up. I was just going to ask you, how do you think City are going to get on against PSG in midweek?
Well, they've got to improve from the last time they played them, because PSG won that game 2-0. They were very much worthy winners. City second best. And it's not been the easiest of Champions League groups so far, as City come forward now with Gundogan just on the edge of the area, but he's well challenged.
Yeah, it is a good challenge to stop Gundogan. It's now with Mahrez. Back towards João Cancelo, who's afforded himself the luxury of almost playing as a central midfielder now in these last few minutes. It's with Bernardo Silva now down the right-hand side. Back to Walker. Now Bernardo again under pressure from Anthony Gordon. And it's all the way back to the halfway line here as Walker leaves this ball for Nathan Ake. Sterling on the left-hand side. Everton doing what they can in banks of 5 here to try and make it difficult for City. But really, as we can see, City this season have the second best defence in terms of goals conceded, second best in terms of clean sheets, and they haven't conceded a single goal from a set piece. So organisation-wise, in terms of defence, it's working very well for City.
Yeah, and that's not something you'd necessarily point to as being their best asset, but they don't concede many goals at all. I think particularly in the last couple of seasons when Pep Guardiola first took over, everyone was wowed by the attacking football they were playing, but defensively they did look sloppy, but now they look really sturdy, and particularly in midfield and defence.
And they've got space now through the middle here as Gundogan charges forward. He leaves the ball now for Palmer. Palmer's strike gets a big deflection straight into the path of Bernardo Silva. The Everton players look towards the linesman, but the flag won't go up. And on 85 minutes, Manchester City have a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, a bit of good fortune about how the ball ricocheted through to Bernardo Silva. It was Cole Palmer's initial strike, which took a huge deflection, but Silva did anticipate that the ball maybe wasn't going to try and reach Jordan Pickford, as it was Gundogan on the half turn, running forward with it, plays it to Cole Palmer, takes a huge deflection on its way through, and Bernardo Silva says thank you very much and finishes it off.
He does indeed. Ilkay Gundogan's had a good game. Palmer's had a very good game. He was probably hoping to get a goal from that himself, but after his deflected effort goes straight into the path of Bernardo Silva, he's able to just get that ball past Pickford, just beats him to the ball. And City now really have wrapped this game up. They really can take their foot off the gas now with that third goal. And with the win this afternoon, City will leapfrog ahead of Liverpool, and they'll still be 3 points behind Chelsea. And as I say, the only team with a better defensive record in terms of goals conceded in the league are Chelsea, who've conceded just 4 in their 12 games so far this season. City making a third and final change.
Yeah, it looks as though it's going to be another youngster coming on. So Cole Palmer's coming off, and James McCarthy, who's another Manchester City academy starlet, he's going to get a Premier League debut as well. Better time, if any, to just give them a few minutes. 3-0 up, no pressure on him whatsoever, and another graduate of the City Academy.
Absolutely, yes. James McCarthy coming on the field now, 19-year-old, and he'll get a few moments here to try, and he'll hopefully be able to get onto the ball and try and have a little bit of an impact on the City attack in these last few minutes. It's been a sorry afternoon for Everton, really. They've tried their best. It's not like they've given up in this game, but they've just been outclassed, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of gone the way that we expected it to, a comfortable sort of 3-0 performance. They've had the moments, Everton, but you need to have more than moments against a side like Manchester City. If they'd have grabbed one of their opportunities, and even when the game was 2-0 to make it 2-1, it could have been different. It could have caused panic in the City ranks, but if Everton weren't going to score, then City were always going to win.
Absolutely, and as it stands, we've got around 2.5 minutes to play before we hit injury time. And still the later game to come this afternoon as Spurs take on Leeds United. No Monday night football in the Premier League in this game week, but of course all the action on our service from Tuesday evening onwards with the Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League coming this week. As I say, we've mentioned already a few times City taking on PSG. Chelsea taking on Juventus as well, so there's a couple of absolute corkers coming up in midweek. But Kyle Walker now finds Bernardo Silva, and straight away McCarthy is into the attack. He breaks into the penalty area, staying on his left foot, back heels into Bernardo Silva. Silva thinking about getting a shot away, back to McCarthy. McCarthy wants to shoot, he's taking a little bit too long over it, and eventually he's having to play the ball away, and Iwobi now challenging him and gets the ball away from McCarthy. But that sometimes is a failing, or say a failing, it sometimes is a character trait of the younger player that he just won't work on his weaker foot when he could have got a shot away there easily, really.
Yeah, he could have, but I think the City fans would probably like seeing that, the fact that he's confident enough to take the ball on there. Really good close control in a tight-knit area, and that's a trait that Guardiola, as we mentioned with Palmer, that's something that Guardiola will like in a player, and that's probably why he's gone on the bench today and he's been given an opportunity, because he can produce something like that.
Well, Richarlison now trying to produce something for Everton down the left. Just getting towards the penalty area. Ball played back towards Anthony Gordon. referee Stuart Atwell thought about giving a free kick. That looks so good and could have been pushed over. But in the end, nothing doing. And now Everton have lost the ball as well. Chance here for City to go straight on the attack as McCarthy finds Mahrez down the right-hand side. Poor ball there from Mahrez straight to Alex Iwobi. And then a foul on Andros Townsend inside the centre circle. Free kick to Everton as we're very close now to injury time. And there's going to be a third and final change. And it's going to be Alan to come off for Everton with Tyler Onyango coming on to replace him.
Yeah, another youngster coming on, and it is great to see that Premier League managers, I think more and more these days, are looking to try and trust young players. It'll be an instruction from above, perhaps, that they want to save money and try and give young players opportunities. It's a run out for Onyango. He might not have much to do in the minutes that he's got on the field, but it's another great moment for a young player in the Premier League.
Yeah, his first time actually on the field in a Premier League game. He's been on the bench a couple of times, never actually had the chance to come on before. So he will be able to say that this was his first appearance. We're into injury time now at the Etihad, just waiting for Craig Pawson, our fourth official, to confirm. There are going to be 3 minutes, and Everton on the attack now as a ball played into the penalty area. Rodrigo flicks it up in the air. He can't get after the second ball before it goes out for a corner. So Everton now with a chance to at least get on the board.
Yeah, I think this is their first corner of the game. I can't remember them having won beforehand, but Andros Townsend going to take this from the near side.
It is their first corner kick. City have had 7 in the game. Townsend now whipping this in towards the edge of the 6-yard box, but that's a good, comfortable, easy save in the end, really, for Edison, who's had a very quiet afternoon, barring a couple of moments.
Yeah, and that's kind of the hallmark of a good goalkeeper, the fact that he kept his concentration, he leapt up in the air, grabbed the ball. It can possibly be easy for a keeper like Edison to get bored during a game because they've got that little to do. So it is good that he keeps himself on his toes, and that's part of the reason why he's a quality goalkeeper.
Absolutely, and I think that sometimes is the problem for goalkeepers that play in such great teams, such great defensive teams, is that the 1 or 2 errors they make can sort of be highlighted even more. You can have some of the best keepers playing in relegation threatened sides, but they're always going to concede because the defences aren't that good. But with someone like Edison, of course, any mistake he makes, that's why I think Alisson sometimes is put under the microscope, because his distribution does sometimes put his teammates under a bit of pressure at Liverpool. But it's been a solid afternoon for Edison. A few things he's had to do, he's done well. And with a minute of injury time still to play, City in possession inside the Everton half now with Riyad Mahrez. Plays the ball across towards Nathan Ake. Quick pass now to Sterling down the left-hand side, edge of the penalty area. Sterling puts it onto his right foot, but then the ball deflects into the path of McCarthy, who does strike it with his left into the side netting, though. Yeah,
it was a narrow angle that worked against him, really. I think Riyad Mahrez was calling for the ball in the centre there, but the way that the ball kind of fell for McCarthy, he was never going to do anything other than shoot there. And I kind of like that exuberance and that confidence that young players can sometimes have coming off the bench.
Absolutely, you need to have that confidence. It's such a big part of top-level sports, of course. It's not just being good enough, but also believing that you're good enough to actually go out on the pitch and produce it. Long clearance now from Pickford, headed forward by John Stones, and then a long volley forward there from Luca Digne as the ball is headed back towards Edison. But the referee can pretty much call time here and now because nothing's going to happen in these final few seconds. The ball is now back with the City goalkeeper, and Stuart Atwell does call time on the game at the Etihad Stadium. So Manchester City, in the end, comfortable winners, beating Everton by 3-0. And that's it for myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz and Dan McCarthy, and join us again soon.